Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
From the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm your host, Ashton Forbes. Right off the bat, I want to address some questions people have that are out there, stuff that's going on. And then I want to spend today's live stream talking about Edward C. Lin, the leaker of the MH370 videos. If you've been living underneath a rock, want to do a retrospective dive on the information around his case and talk through it with you all. Now, before we get started in this, I think one of the first things somebody was mentioning was Stephen Greer was asked about the MH370 videos. I did get in touch with his producer, and we are waiting to connect. So, stuff is happening behind the scenes. It'll probably end up moving slowly. So just keep that in mind, guys. Now, the other thing I want to bring up is that we at MH370X are going to be making an official announcement. This is the unofficial announcement, looking for a video producer or editor who is connected to the community. So a lot of you out there have been making amazing content. Some of you have been making music. Some of you have been making clips, shorts. Other people have just been finding stuff related to 0 Point Energy on the internet. And we want to work with you. And realize that this is a very small operation. But obviously, we have aspirations for being something bigger. So if you are somebody who is a video editing professional who has been connected to this community and you are interested in this, then get ready for that announcement in the future. We are going to be looking for those applications. Okay. Now, also, just thank you very much for being here tonight. So, guys, tonight's live stream is going to be a little bit different. Now, just to bring it down to earth a little bit, I was taking a nap right before this, and I had one of those moments where I woke up and I was completely disoriented. Like, I didn't even know where I was anymore. Like, I woke up and I'm like, wait, where am I? What day is it? And then I realized, oh, crap, yeah, I have to live stream. I don't know if you guys have had those times before where you've taken that nap and you've just kind of woken up in another world almost, where it does feel like sometimes those days are more and more frequent with all the weird shit that's going on out there today. But no, this reality, unfortunately, we're still real. Now, I've been thinking a lot about Edward C. Lin recently. Edward C. Lin was the guy that I identified as having leaked the MH370 videos. And I want to go through that evidence with everyone, generally the high level with everyone, because there was somebody sent me a clip today that we're going to play. And it kind of just begins to enrage me to think it's just extremely obvious that this guy had to have leaked the videos. Just had to have. In fact, I was watching, I love true crime. Or not true crime, but I do love true crime, but I also just like mysteries in general. And most TV show mysteries Most movie mysteries are so terrible. Like, you can just figure out the answer pretty much right away, you know? And it's funny because for some reason I keep thinking about the Edward Lynn case in terms of how if we had the puzzle pieces, we could have figured it out so easily. So easily, just like one of those crappy movies that they figure it out super easily. But instead we didn't. So listen right away before we even jump into this. Listen to this new, it's not new, but no one had found, I had never seen this clip before. So for me, when I say something's new, it basically means I've researched everything about MH370, everything about all these people, and if I haven't seen it, then it's new to me. But it's basically from some local television station. It's only got, dozen views on YouTube, and somebody uploaded it. And it's a piece about Edward Lynn's case back in 2016, 2015, somewhere in that range. And it's insightful because if we are trying to understand why Edward C. Lynn might be the leaker, we need to understand and match up the psychological profile of the person that leaked the videos to our suspect. So let's try to understand what's the psychological profile of Edward C. Lynn's case. What's the psychological profile of the guy in Edward C. Lynn's case? Taken out of the context, the allegations that I have put forth. And I have formally accused Edward C. Lynn of leaking the videos, no question, no doubt. And I just want to make it 100% clear from a legal perspective. If Edward C. Lynn is not the person that leaked these videos, he should be reaching out to me right now while I'm live streaming this. He should have been reaching out to me a while back. I've been trying to get in touch with him and his lawyers. They won't respond to any of my phone calls, messages, voicemails, emails, anything. They won't respond to any of them. So, to be clear, I gave more than my fair share of duty to ask him to get his side of the take on this. So, Edward C. Lynn, we didn't know much about him. All of a sudden, the public finds out when he had already been detained for, I believe, over almost 7 months, 8 months. He had been detained for 8 months, and the public had no idea that he was even in jail. Now, his sister's families probably knew, but the media had no idea. The allegations were not made public. And then all these allegations come out. And they are claiming that he is a spy, that he has been sharing information with prostitutes. Literally. The government had that in the allegations. And so it becomes this whirlwind. Now, of all these allegations, the one thing that's not in the allegations is what did he do? What did he leak? Well, why are they coming after him? Why is he in pretrial detainment for like a year? What's so dangerous about this guy? This is the thing. Nothing was. So now that you have that context, let's watch this news clip about it because it's really interesting in retrospect.
Of an accused Navy spy wants a congressional investigation into the case against him.
Jenny Lynn's brother, Lieutenant Commander Edward Lynn, has been in the brig for more than a year. The Navy says he gave secrets to Taiwan. His sister tells our Deanna LeBlanc he's innocent. Deanna with us now. And Deanna, he will be in court tomorrow.
Laura, that's right. Lynn's private civilian attorney tells me he believes the government tomorrow will attempt to modify one of the charges against him, a possible sign the case could be weakening. Meanwhile, Lynn's sister Jenny is fighting for his innocence, asking Congress to do the same.
Lieutenant Commander Edward Lynn is an American success story to his sister Jenny.
If you know Eddie is all about the Navy. He is all about the United States. I mean, he dedicated his entire life to this.
Jenny Lin now fighting for her brother's life, calling on Congress to sanction the Navy for prosecuting her brother. In her words, without any evidence.
This is a family who have dedicated our professional and personal life.
There's the picture, chat, by the way. There's the picture that Edward Soraya used in the video. Like, I love that when Edward Lin came out and under his new name and made the video, people just couldn't believe that he made a video under his new name using his old picture that the media was using. What? It still makes like no sense. People do weird shit though, chat.
To the public service of this country.
Eddie and Jenny immigrated from Taiwan as children with their mother, who has since passed away. Jenny, following in her brother's military footsteps, is a JAG with the Air Force Reserves.
We are both Taiwanese American immigrants, but this is our home, and we have worked in every capacity that we can in furtherance of this country's interests.
Eddie Lin has been in the Naval Consolidated Brig in Chesapeake since September of 2015.
My brother has been in pretrial confinement for about 494 days now for what the government initially alleged as spy for sex or spying for China.
The government claims Lin fed secrets to a prostitute, but has since dropped prostitution and adultery charges. As for
464 days in prison. 464 days in prison. He was in prison. Edward C. Lin was in prison for 464 days at the time when this clip was played. And they were trying to claim it was some prostitution shit with China, and they just had to admit it was all made up. That was all just made up. Guys, why would the government be making shit up a bit against a guy who's his sister's like he's a good guy?
the spy charges, Lin's attorney argued that any information he may have provided to a foreign government was open source, meaning it could be found online. A judge has since ruled that part of an 11-hour interrogation cannot be used in court.
He's one of the good guys. He has never done anything wrong, and I still believe in his innocence.
Jenny Lin says no congressional leaders have reached back to her with any concrete responses yet. We did ask the government for comment, but have not heard back. Now, the classified nature of this case and the fact that it's at a military court makes it tough for us to get our hands on documents to support Jenny or the government's arguments, which is why we will be in court tomorrow for that latest hearing. Lin's court-martial, which is basically his trial, is set for March. In the Live Center, I'm Deanna LeBlanc. 10 on your side.
Chat. I have to be honest. Turns out I have a superpower. I have a superpower, and my superpower is justice. It's just justice. What is the superpower? What is it? What does justice do? When I can see and sense injustice just naturally like a sixth sense. It just radiates throughout my bones and enrages me. It's really hard to describe the exact feeling other than just condensed rage. When I watch that, I can tell immediately that Jenny Lin isn't lying at all. To her, her brother is a hero, and there is no chance that he was spying for China or Russia. This is huge amount of information if we are trying to understand who the man Eddie Lin was. So Edward Lin was a guy that there's no way he was maliciously spying for China or Taiwan against the United States. In fact, the subtext of that conversation when Jenny Lin, by the way, her new name is Jenny Lin Naylor. She's married to Sean Naylor. The subtext of that conversation, when she says that they have been civil servants their whole lives, she's saying that the reason we're naturalized Americans from Taiwan is because we're basically spies for you against China. Do you guys not understand that subtext? I don't think a lot of people really get that. They're either directly spies for us against China, working with Taiwan, or they are connected at that level. or connected at that level where they're, they're privy to that level of information. That's why Jenny Lynn Naylor is a lawyer for Homeland Security on countering weapons of mass destruction. That's not a joke, what I just said. 100% real. Turns out that woman who you heard talking on behalf of her brother, she is a lawyer for Homeland Security, and the specialization that she calls herself or whatever is on countering weapons of mass destruction. Wow. And Edward Lynn, we had trusted with everything, nuclear weapons. Edward Lynn was the U.S. Navy's liaison to Congress for getting the budget approved, which included black projects as well. So Lynn was extremely connected. His sister is connected. So we know they're all connected. We know he's a patriot. No question is Edward Lynn a patriot, patriotic American. And also, this is kind of a big deal, he happened to be connected to U.S. spy planes. He was just assigned the VPU-2 Wizards, where his specific role as lieutenant commander would have been to relay the video information and other sensor information to upper command. And it turns out VPU-2 Wizards, not exactly all, let's say, street legal. Let's say they're not all street legal. You know what I'm saying? For the people who watch the Fast and the Furious franchise. We're saying they do black operations, chat. They do black operations. So the other thing about this is that when you watch that, what are some of the key points that Jenny Lynn was saying there? Why am I getting so enraged? What are the key elements that get that justice superpower sense? Well, she says they're trying to smear him. She says that that he's not giving these secrets to Taiwan, China. She says that she wants Congress to investigate. She wants Congress to investigate? When I think of Congress, I'm thinking of what? What do you guys think of Congress when you think of the military? I think of whistleblowers. The only thing I think of Congress related to is whistleblowing. Why would she want Congress to look into Edward Lynn's case? Shit, I'm going to include that Jenny Lynn begged Congress to look into what the U.S. Navy was doing in Edward Lynn's case. Seems obvious in retrospect. He had leaked the most important videos in the history of the world. They were trying to figure out how to make them disappear. They were trying to figure out what they should do. Okay, let me look at my points here that I have. Okay, let's also look at this. Whatever Edward Lynn leaked, he did not go whistleblower. Edward Lynn could have gone straight to CNN and he didn't. That's a very, very important point. When people are spies or people are whistleblowers, usually they go to China with the information or go to Russia with the information, or they just post it on the media. They post it on social media. They like the kid from the war in Ukraine that posted the stuff, Jack Texiera, whatever his name is, posted the shit in the Discord. Everybody knew. That's how they knew. Posted in the Discord. Edward C. Lynn, no one knows. He didn't go to CNN. He didn't go to Fox News. He didn't go to MSNBC. He didn't go to Joe Rogan. So what was it? How is there a massive breach that warranted Edward Lynn having to go to prison? And the lawyers, while the military was saying that this guy's lying, making shit up about how he was selling secrets or telling secrets to prostitutes, the lawyer was saying that all the information is open source. It's available on the internet. What? Chat, pay attention right now. And yes, I have a Discord. If you are good, I will give you the Discord. The lawyer, defense lawyer, and it was mentioned in that clip, the defense lawyer was yelling from the rooftops that all the information is publicly available, that what he leaked is available on the internet. At the same time, the Pentagon is getting a security alert at the highest levels of classification breach due to Edward C. Lynn. What does that add up to? What does it add up to? So we've got a guy. Let's put together what we've learned here. Let's put together just from what we've learned, just from what we talked about. We just gleaned this from listening to his sister, who's clearly in his corner. And let me add another piece. This sister also made a website that we found. You can find it on the Wayback Machine. There's a website basically saying that Edward C. Lynn's innocent and this is all some bullshit. And like asking for help because of that the government's just lying about his case. Okay? So the family was saying that the government's lying about his case. The government admitted they were lying about his case. The government admitted they had no evidence. The government was terrified of him talking to the public. That's why they had him in pretrial detainment. Okay? So he leaked something. They don't want him to talk. Also, he's a patriot, it turns out. He's not some weird, malicious weirdo or political zealot. He is just a guy that loves America. But also, whatever he leaked, it was serious. It was not a joke. It had to have been really, really, really important. Because you don't get security alerts for security breaches at the highest levels over small little things. Certainly not over pillow talk with a prostitute. If you tell a prostitute that let's say America has a super death ray, and that prostitute tells somebody else, no one gives a shit. You know why? Because the prostitute has no credibility. Okay? Now, why is Edward C. Lynn alive? This is also important. Edward Lynn is alive. And you have to say, well, why? Well, add up those previous variables that I just told you. Also, his family is connected. His family is clearly connected, and he was connected. He was connected as well. So here's what this adds up to, chat. Very clearly, it adds up to one pretty obvious scenario for Edward Lynn. Edward Lynn is a patriot, and he made a massive, massive mistake. That's what it means. It means Edward Lynn did something that if he were to give an opportunity, he would not do it again. He would not do it again. He made a mistake, and he messed up. And it's possible, even when he was being questioned and interrogated, that he did not know the full consequences of what he had done. That's the answer, right? That's what it adds up to. Why? Because then the answer is, why is he still alive? Because he made a mistake. It wasn't malicious. If it was malicious, Edward C. Lynn would not be alive. If you are in one of those not so street legal military special forces groups and you spy for our adversaries against us, you are justifiably going to get a bullet in the back of your head. And I say that, again, just to let you understand that I am also a patriotic American, which makes everything I've been doing really difficult, by the way. I really, really wish you could just change some of the parties around, like China, Russia, United States, etc. But then if we did that, they'd be one of the ones with the orbs. So end of the day, kind of balances out. But let me just make it 100% clear. Push comes to shove. When countries go to war, the country I'm aligned with is the United States of America. That's the country I will die for. No question. Is it some bullshit? Yeah, it's some bullshit. We're all slaves. It is what it is. So why is Edward C. Lynn alive? Everybody always asks. Because he didn't mean to do it. He didn't mean to do it. He did not mean to do it. Now, let's look at that within the same context of the person that leaked these videos. God, StreamYard, dude. So when we're looking at this video, we can tell right away this is military. This is not commercial grade. We can see the coordinates in the bottom left right away. Now we know it's military. So we've got coordinates. We can cross-reference those coordinates. We can figure out this is Malaysian Airlines. No question. That's Malaysian Airlines. Takes about 15 minutes. If I was a government spook agency, we'd have this figured out that the United States military did this in probably under an hour. Probably under an hour. And I'm not saying that to, brag or whatever, but literally. So we've got coordinates. We know where the plane is. We can see the smoke coming off the back of the plane. So we know right away that this is an operation that was probably done to the plane because we're watching it in this military footage. So basically what I'm saying is because of the context here, we can already basically tell this is already military operation, smoke. And then now we've got these orbs coming in. Now the orbs right away, I would assess as a drone type or some type of homing lock-in weapon. If I was like an adversarial nation, some type of exotic technology that's been now weapon that's been deployed on the plane, right? And when we're watching this, we can tell that the person that leaked this, they were leaking this with some level of intent. They wanted us to see this event, right? Like they're centering the camera or the, perspective. They're centering this perspective directly on the plane. They want us to know, like, hey, we were tracking this plane. And the other big thing is that because this right here, because that is United States military footage, this means that the person that leaked this is United States military. What kind of person would leak something like this? What kind of U.S. military person would leak footage like this? How are you going to go to your job? Get on your computer. You can see the mouse cursor on the bottom part of the screen. How are you going to get on your computer, log in to your, secret surveillance system that the world has no fucking clue about this? By the way, no one's had any clue what this was in 2014. You record this. Out of all the things to record, this is what you record. Some orbs spinning around the plane, and then the plane's disappearing. You record that. And then you scroll over the screen to the right here to show people like this is really, quite literally, a real video of a real place that's really happening. And then you go and you stop the recording. So you watch the mouse cursor go to the top right of the screen. I want to point this out again. This is so important. Watch the mouse cursor. See the mouse cursor? Look how it changes colors over the cloud. It gets darker when it goes over the cloud. It's brighter when it's over the background. This is custom software. And maybe even if the mouse cursor, that's just some Citrix session thing or so whatever, that's still definitely custom software in the background. So they're going and they're closing that window. This blackness, we're just sitting here in the black right now. This live stream is still live right now. That recording is still going. It's still playing right now. It's still playing right there. There's still like 40 seconds left. Somebody left the recording on. They left the recording on. This is such a huge detail. Why did they do this? Why did the person that recorded this leave this black like this? Why? The only reason I can possibly think of, only one, they wanted to give us proof that what we were looking at was a real window recording. There's only one way this happens. How is it even black like that? Why? Why is it black like that? It's a very, very simple answer. If I have a window up and I go up to the top left portion of it and I press the little X, you're not there anymore. That's what they did. They didn't stop recording. They just closed the window they were recording. Therefore, there was nothing to record anymore. It was black. They were showing us this is no software. This isn't an edited thing. This isn't Blender or Adobe Effects. This is nothing. This is not shit. I forget the names of the softwares. Arma 3 or whatever other crap that's out there. Combat Simulator. This is none of those things. They were showing us, no question, no doubt, they're taking a recording of a video. They're taking a recording of a video on their computer. That's what they were showing us. So somebody was taking a recording on their computer, recorded it, and they wanted that to get out. So the mindset of the person that wanted to get out, they had to be a U.S. military personnel, and they had to be pretty high ranking. They had to be U.S. military and pretty high ranking to have access to these types of videos. They also, in my opinion, would have had to have had some type of emotional reaction to the video. So that first video, okay, it's neat. It's actually very, very powerful evidence. But the video that blows your mind, that actually makes you quite literally begin to question reality, is this one. This is the one that will be studied in the physics books, in the physics classes for years to come. This will be studied as proof that we were wrong about space. It isn't empty. It isn't empty. There is infinite energy to be had from just empty space. This is the video where you only leak this because you want someone to know that we can teleport an airplane. You want someone to know we can teleport an airplane. Why else in the hell would you ever leak this? That is quite clearly a Boeing 777. And with the context of the location of the plane, that has to be MH370. Absolutely has to be MH370 you're looking at in this video. This is the video that gets you 2 bullets in the back of the head. This is the video that every single UFOologist wishes they had a video of this quality. Wishes in their wildest dreams they had a video of this quality. We can even see exactly how they're flying. Not just how they're flying, we can tell the physical phenomenon that allows them to fly based on the cold lines in front of the orbs. But obviously, this is the part that they wanted the world to see. They wanted someone to see that. How fast was that, by the way? This plane is gone in less than 0.2 seconds. And it's just gone. It's gone like there's nothing there anymore, gone. So there has to have been an emotional reaction. There has to have been an emotional reaction. Edward Lynn, or someone who leaked those videos, had to have seen that and went, holy shit. Because that's the kind of thing where if you were to see that and you know it's real because you know what you're looking at is real, you're like, no one will ever believe this. You would stare at that and you go, no one would ever believe this. But at the same time, I think a lot of people that would look at that, when you know it's real, you begin to realize there are profound implications for this being real. That right there, those 4 frames where the plane exists and then no longer exists in this spot on Earth. When you see that, and we can tell because the person that leaked that video, they added the slow-mo themselves. The original version of that video has the 2 slow-mos of just the zap at the end. They did that with intention. So they either wanted to prove that to somebody that teleportation or zapping planes, whatever you want to call it, is real, or they wanted to prove it to the world that it's real. So we have a very narrow psychological profile just from what we've talked about now in the last 20 minutes. For who is this person that would leak this footage, this incredible footage? Keep in mind as well that just like if you were new, if for some reason this is the first stream you've ever watched, you've never seen anything, you just watched that video, you're going to immediately go, no, that has to be fake. And then you're going to say, oh, well, are you saying that aliens took the plane? That's the brainwashing. That is the brainwashing and the spell that we've all been under. Maybe for a very long time. Let's just say a very long time. The idea that if we see something that looks unusual to us, it's got to be aliens. It's got to be aliens. That's why I've been attacked so hard over those videos, because those videos prove that whole narrative is bullshit. That the whole is it aliens? It's all bullshit. We're the ones doing the evil shit with the super technology. We're the ones doing the evil shit with the super technology. That's what those videos show, and that's what they absolutely cannot let the public know. It's not that the public can't know about aliens. Public's allowed to know that aliens are real. They're screaming it at us. The thing they don't want the public to know is that we've got the alien technology, and we're the ones teleporting airplanes out of the sky. So the person that leaked that video had an emotional reaction. They are not a spy as well. Why? A spy is not going to crop the footage. Both videos are cropped. We know they're both cropped. The drone is like just cropped out of view, and they might be moving the screen to keep the drone out of view. That's how close the drone is on the satellite video. Like, you could triangulate it, and it's just out of range. So they cropped out the drone, which makes you wonder, did they crop out other U.S. military assets that were near MH370 in the Nicobar Islands? Probably. Probably. And they cropped the drone video. How do we know they cropped the drone video? Pay close attention, chat. These are the reasons why I'm the lead investigator into MH370. From time to time, I like to prove why. And I came up with this while I was with Matt Bell on Matt Bell's Limitless podcast. If you want to check it out, you'll realize. I'll show you the moment right here. Boom. This is the moment that we knew that cropped this video. This video is cropped. Why? Where's the plane? So let's go back a few seconds. We are now, let's call this middle distance. We're at mid distance here, okay? Middle zoom. We can't see the drone. The drone's still, we're pretty zoomed in still a little bit. And we see this little plane here. Now the plane goes off the screen. The plane is now completely off the screen to the right. Where's the plane? Now, what happens in a few seconds? Let's watch. No planes. Wait, I can see something. Did you notice? Wow, now the plane is zoomed in. Now we're zoomed in on the plane, and let's go back a few seconds. You can start to see the black lines on the right. Look at the right side of the screen. You're going to see the black lines of the orbs. See it? So 1 second before this, there's a black line from one of the orbs. Goes on the right side of the screen, right there. It just went past. And now we're zoomed in. So what does that mean? That means the person who had the camera could see the plane on part of the screen that's cropped out. On the right side of the screen, while they were zooming in, they could still see the plane. Right here, they could still see the plane because it's bigger. We can't see it because it's cropped. That's how the operator was able to zoom in while not being able to see the plane. It's simple. Chat, we're just doing goat things here. This is just like Sherlock Holmes. We found out so much about this. I actually wonder, I don't think that the intelligence community predicted we would find out this much open source public information from just 2 videos out there. They knew it was going to be bad, this leak, but I don't think they could have ever expected we'd find out how much we found. It's not going to be 4:3 either. It's not. Now, the video version we have, I think, is something like that. But the original would have been full widescreen for sure. Definitely. Okay. So, now, I think I've made the argument for why there's some pretty strong similarities between the psychological profile of the person we would expect to have leaked the videos, which would have to be a U.S. military member and high-ranking, lots of access, trusted, had an emotional reaction to the videos, maybe didn't understand what they were seeing in the videos either wanted the world to know that we could do whatever we did in those videos or what have you. And then we look at the Edward Lynn case and we say, the guy was connected. He made some kind of mistake, major mistake, that triggered a national security alert. But people were going to bat for him. The government kind of did him a favor. They were basically going to put him in prison for life. And instead, they just gave him 10 years. 10 years. 10 years in prison. Some people are like, oh, he only got 10 years in prison. I'm like, do you think any of you could survive 10 years in prison? Probably not. Probably not. I'm not going to survive 10 years in prison. If I go to prison for 10 years, I'm going to come out tatted up head to toe, looking like Mike Tyson or some shit. Face tats, high probability. So the reason why I bring this up, and we're going to talk about the parallels here in terms of why it's definitely Edward Lynn, is that there are so many other people that you can look up, so many other whistleblowers and people that were charged with, leaking shit like the Snowdens and stuff like that. And when you look them up, you're going to find that there are basically 0 boxes that are checked when it comes to the psychological profile of the person we're looking for. The psychological profile of the person we're looking for in the MH370 videos is actually quite unique. It's quite unique. Most people that are whistleblowers, they are going to go to the media. They go to the media. They go to CNN. They go to Fox News. You don't usually just get something like on the internet. Oh, there it is on the internet. So I think it's also possible that the MH370 video leaker, they didn't think they were going to get in trouble. They might not have thought they were going to get in trouble. But it's also possible as well, and these are just now conditional possibilities. I think the most likely scenario is that bridges the gap between the two sides of this is that there's somebody in the middle. There's somebody in the middle. It would mean that Edward Lynn gave these to somebody else, or he showed these videos to somebody else, and then they leaked them onto the internet. That's what makes the most sense to me. Why? Because when you look at the videos, they don't really look like they were for public consumption. It kind of looks like something that was being shared between emails that shouldn't have been getting shared. Like, hey, we're sharing these dope videos, these operations I did. Yeah, you probably shouldn't be doing that, bro. Right? That kind of thing. And why shouldn't you be doing that? Because, hey, you shared that video with your bro from Taiwan, and then he gave it to his buddy who's got a YouTube channel. And now it's all over the internet on the dark web. Like, that's what happened with MH370 videos. So, guys, because people are going to fact check me on the use of the term dark web, when I say dark web, what I mean is, guys, realize these videos were online on the internet and nobody was paying attention to them. Not for 10 years, nobody paid attention to these videos. It's very important to understand that context. Nobody paid any attention to these videos. They had like a couple hundred views. It wasn't until 2023 that anyone began to seriously connect these videos to MH370. When I say anybody, I mean me. I'm like literally the only guy talking about the plane and connecting these videos and trying to tell people these videos are obviously real. Obviously real. Okay. Now, let's go over some of the reasons here why there is crossover related to it. So I want to play that clip again, actually.
At 5:30
tomorrow will
his entire life.
Hold on. Where's the part about the lawyer? I'm just going to play this part again here. Hold on.
About the United States. I mean, he dedicated his entire life to this.
Jenny Lynn now fighting for her brother's life, calling on Congress to sanction the Navy for prosecuting her brother. In her words, without any evidence.
This is a family who have dedicated our professional and personal lives to the public service of this country.
Eddie and Jenny immigrated from Taiwan as children with their mother, who has since passed away. Jenny, following in her brother's military footsteps, is a JAG with the Air Force Reserves.
We are both Taiwanese American immigrants.
She's a JAG with the Air Force Reserve. I just caught that, actually. I listened to that like 4 times and just caught that. Yeah, so for the people who are saying she was a JAG, yeah, so she was a JAG. So she actually is a lawyer herself as well. Jenny Lynn is. So for Jenny Lynn, also, I want to point out to say that, like, there's some malfeasance in the case. This is not coming from just a place of emotion. It's actually from a professional knowledge place as well. Okay. Let's go back. Well, where's the lawyer part?
This is
Eddie Lynn has been in the Naval Consolidated Brig in Chesapeake since September of 2015.
My brother has been in pretrial confinement for about 494 days now for what the government initially alleged as spy for sex or spying for China.
The government claims Lynn fed secrets to a prostitute, but has since dropped prostitution and adultery charges. As for the spy charges, Lynn's attorney argued that any information he may have provided to a foreign government was open source, meaning it could be found online.
Okay, right off the bat, that's the number one thing, right? The lawyer, this is Larry D. Youngner. Let's just name names. Larry D. Youngner is Edward Lynn's public lawyer. Okay. He was out there saying that it's open source. The information is publicly available. The military said just because it's available on the internet does not mean it's declassified. That was their response. That's a pretty goddamn weird thing to say when somebody's saying the thing that I leaked is available on the internet. It's really weird for both sides to say that. So Why do we think that it's Edward Lynn? Why are people saying there's no proof it's Edward Lynn? Guys, shut the hell up. It's Edward C. Lynn. If you don't think I'm correct, then just get Edward C. Lynn to come talk to me. Why are we playing these games? This is not like a big, we're not going to have a big debate over this. He's the guy, and if he's not the guy, he can fucking sue me. And he should be suing me if he's not the guy. I would be. If the situation was reversed and somebody is saying I did some shit that could negatively impact my businesses and my livelihoods, I would sue them. Or just, call them up and have a normal conversation with them and ask them to stop. But that has never happened to this day. Instead, I have reached out to him multiple times, his sister, his lawyer, all the people mentioned in that clip I've reached out to. And none of them will respond. Why is that? Well, the evidence is available publicly. That's the MH370 videos and what happened to Edward C. Lynn in his case. He pled guilty. He took a plea deal. So if you're not familiar with the court system, what this means is basically they abused the shit out of him in that pretrial detainment for like 2 years before the trial. And they convinced him psychologically that he's a bad guy and what he did was evil and that it hurt national security. And he agreed because he said, yeah, I don't want to die. I would like to be alive on this earth. Because a lot of you are saying, well, why didn't they kill him? Because he said, yes, I am wrong and I made a mistake and I want to live. Right? Let me set the scene for you. You're Edward Lynn. You're in some fucking military, they beat the shit out of you and abuse you, the worst possible conditions ever situation. And some guy walks in at 2 a.m, wakes you up in your cell, takes a gun, puts it to your head and says, hey, bro, are you going to plead guilty or is it over right now? What do you say? You say, oh, I'm going to plead guilty. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that we got this level of clarity right now on where everybody stands on the situation. Okay. What I'm saying is that Edward Lynn pleaded guilty because he's a patriot and he always was a patriot and he made a mistake. And that's what everybody has been saying. His lawyer, his sister, and him directly as well. He apologized publicly. He said he was broken in spirit. He was broken in spirit. So the problem is this. Oh, and also, he got caught with flight manifests that include search and rescue code names just a few months after MH370 disappeared. I mean, that really should just be it. When people are like, you don't have proof, I'm kind of like, do you have any other story of what he did other than him leaking the videos? Because it has to fit with the facts, which includes he got caught with flight manifests that include search and rescue code names. Was he just coincidentally on the search for MH370 afterwards? Just quit, and he just took those flight logs just because? There is only one possible plane the search and rescue code names can be related to. It's MH370. It's the only plane that disappeared in that time frame. It was before MH17. It couldn't even be that one. I don't know. I seriously wonder. Now, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So he took his plea deal and he didn't want to hurt national security. So here's the thing. What do you do when you have a whistleblower who doesn't want to whistleblow? who doesn't want to whistleblow. So when I had done the calculus that I just reviewed with all of you, and I did that calculus in October of 2023 for the first time, I thought, wow, well, because he didn't come out as a whistleblower initially, it's possible that he might not want to come out at all. He might have been convinced, psychologically convinced, to be quiet. And his plea deal is going to make it so that he can never talk ever again. The plea deal will persist even after he gets out of prison. He probably can't talk. And these were factors in why I decided to just start naming him publicly. Because I didn't want to go after a guy that I thought was the leaker, like in person. I wanted it to be a public thing. Because if I start chasing this guy down privately and he doesn't want to be found, he's going to sniff on to me. And then he's going to start, go lost in the wind. And then when I start to name him, it may not have the same level of credibility. So I just preferred to keep it all face up. So this is the big question that I'm asking you guys right now. What do you do when somebody accidentally leaks something? They make a mistake, or they're convinced, doesn't really matter at this point, distinction without a difference. They're either convinced they made a mistake or they just did make a mistake. And yet they're the only person on this earth that can corroborate the videos. They're the only person that can corroborate the provenance of the MH370 videos. So I want to watch real quick this clip.
This footage that has been circulating and getting so much attention and so much debate, and it's allegedly of the MH370 commercial airplane that had disappeared. And I'll put the footage up, but you can see these three orbs circling it, and then there's this pop of light, and it dematerializes. So there's so much debunking of the video, and then there's debunking of the debunkers, and I don't know what to make of this. There's this guy Ashton Forbes who's been championing this, and I've reached out to him, never heard back. So whatever. But the question is this real, and is this the kind of man-made technology that would be used in a false flag attack and blamed on extraterrestrials?
The first question, is it real? I don't know. I don't have the provenance for it. The second question is yes, because that capability, I think it's an Einstein-Rosen bridge.
So what's the number one problem in what Greer said? We need the provenance. Who's the person that leaked it? That's what these people need. You guys might not need it to believe it. The normie, NPC, Westworld people, doesn't look like anything to me type people. The people that even after me just laying down, and that was only part of the evidence that links Edward Lynn to the MH370 videos. Even after me laying that down, they're still going, you don't have any proof, duh. Those are the people that need Edward Lynn to come out and say it himself. The Greer needs Edward Lynn to come out himself. If Edward Lynn came out himself, Greer would be all over this. Greer would be all over. Why? Because it's proving Greer correct about everything. Some of the other people would be forced to report on it. What can they say? So the truth is we need Edward Lynn. And for some people, the question comes up, well, what if there's more than one leaker? I don't know. I can't just guess. What if there is? So what? You tell me. The next question, guys, whenever you ask a question, try to answer it yourself. Try just to be like, what if this? Okay, what if that? Is there a way to find that person? What have you? What you find with a lot of questions is there's just a dead end. You just get to a dead end where there's nowhere way to proceed anymore. So without Edward Lynn, we are basically at a handicap with respect to the credibilities of the videos. Now, the question then to you is this. So what do you do? What is the next play? We have isolated the guy. Edward C. Lynn, he's the guy that leaked the videos. If you're still not convinced, I just gave you the timeline of events. So after I named Edward Lynn as the leaker in October of 2023, did he reach out to me? No. Did he sue me? No. Did he answer any of my calls? No. What did he do instead? In the very end of the year, December of 2023, he legally filed to change his name to Edward James Soraya. Wow. Wow. Legally filed to change his name instead of reaching out to me. He could have reached out to me and grifted off of it. If he was a grifter type person, he could have just reached out to me and grifted off of it. To me, that's the strongest indication that I'm right over the target. You only would change your name in that. He had been out of prison for 2 or 3 years already. So it's not like he was doing it because he got out of prison and felt like he wanted to change his name. He'd already been out of prison, living his life. So I'm going to write down some of your ideas while I go through some of this. So now that we've identified the guy, no question, no doubt, he's the guy. We have to get him to say something or come up with some better idea. And the question is, how? How? Let me do some donos, and then we'll come back to that question, and we'll spend the rest of the stream discussing that. Okay. William Bill, thank you very much, brother. Thank you for your donations and your support. I appreciate you. I'm glad you're getting caught up to speed. Quentin Brown, thank you for that donation. What's the next step if we can get Ed? Yeah, this is going to be the next question we're going to ask. So hang on to that question in your back of your thought mind. The next question after this is going to be, if we did get him to speak up, then what? Then what? One sec. Okay. One Tack Chandra. What did Ed Lynn release that he said he was open source? Exactly. Why can't we just get some straight up answers to the questions? Why can't we just get answers to the questions like, if there's this open source information, what is it? Point to it on the internet for me. Point to it on the internet what Edward C. Lynn leaked. It seems like a very simple resolution to this. This is why I don't deal with debunkers and other idiots who are trying to gaslight me and to say that Edward Lynn is not the leaker. Yes, Edward Lynn is the fucking leaker of the videos, because if he wasn't, all you'd have to do is point on the internet to what he released and what he leaked that is a national security alert that would trigger a national security alert to the highest levels in the Pentagon. Just do that for me. There's only one thing. It's the MH370 videos. That's what he leaked. That's what triggers an alert to the highest level of the Pentagon. That's the thing that's not spying for the adversaries that still gets you thrown in prison for 9 years. That's it. Oh, and I can't believe I forgot this. Clip it. Get ready. Somebody on the internet 100% got in touch with Larry Youngner like 5 weeks ago. 100% got in touch with him. Leaked the voicemail he got from Larry Youngner. Recorded the voicemail, leaked it on the internet. It's like, Larry Youngner trying to get back to you, blah, 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 blah. It's definitely him. He's got this unique cadence in his voice. And the same time he leaks the voicemail, he says, and I just got done with a phone call with him. And Larry Youngner says the feds brought satellite video into the Edward C. Lynn case. I'm paraphrasing. What? I mean, shit, guys. Even the most hardcore Reddit brain debunker is going to sit there, and if Larry Youngner admits that there really was satellite video in the Edward C. Lynn case, even the most hardcore Westworld NPC beep boop robot is going to be going, is that Ashton Forbes guy like maybe onto something? Because starting to get kind of awkward in here. Real people didn't even know satellite video existed before I popularized it by exposing Sibbers and whammy footage and all this shit that I've been exposing, or we've been exposing for the last year and a half. Hell, debunkers were arguing it's not possible based on low Earth orbit satellites and their speed, that you can't even get images like that because they're moving too fast. I had to talk to a literal Sibbers network engineer who confirmed for me that, yes, we can relay the information to ground-based computers, and yes, we can get it to work so that the speed of the satellites doesn't matter anymore. So, I mean, guys, we are on the 1 inch line right here, and we're about to score a touchdown. For people who don't know, this is American football. This is very good. But we got to if you don't get past the 1 inch line, it doesn't matter at all. Like, if we just get or Larry Youngner just to admit that, yes, he told somebody that the feds brought satellite video in the case, boom. So there's one answer. I've already asked and answered one thing, is that get Larry Youngner to talk. We don't even need Edward C. Lynn to necessarily talk. His sister, she knows. Sean Naylor, her husband, he probably knows too. He's also a spook, it turns out. They're all fucking spooks. And his lawyer apparently is a little Kathy Chatty. Got a little Kathy Chatty streak in him. Just talking about satellite video in Fed cases. So if we can get any of these guys to talk, like, we can get enough that is going to make it beyond any reasonable doubt for even the most hardcore skeptics and debunkers. The other thing, too, because I'm going to present some of my own thoughts here as well. Because I've been thinking, what the hell do we do? Everybody asks me, what do we do? How do we move forward? How do we get Edward C. Lynn to talk? My thought that I had was we get him to sign something that is like a loophole where it doesn't technically violate his NDA or his whatever plea deal. We don't know the wording of his plea deal. So we get him to sign something that says Ashton is correct, but it doesn't say that I leaked the videos or something like that. It just says Ashton Forbes is correct on his assessments. Like, so something where indirectly it admits the videos being real without legally admitting the videos being real. That, I think, is the Galaxy Brain IQ play. So if Edward Lynn is out there, Larry Youngner, his sister, guys, I don't hate you. You actually are my hero. I wish we could be friends. I want to be nothing more than be friends with you. And I don't say that. No Diddy, if you know what I'm saying. But I really do. I think you're cool people, and I think it would be awesome. But unfortunately, right now, you're on the other side of the battlefield to me. At least I think you are. But one way to get around it would be to sign a legally binding document that says that Ashton Forbes is right about the assessment. If you do that, then I will leave you alone for the rest of your life. You can live and do whatever you want. I can't promise the rest of the media will, but I will. Okay. So that's one way. Okay, a few more donos. It's a lot of donos, actually. United Glory. Oh, yeah. So Pippa's father passed away. Rest in peace. Jeff Bezos' grandfather? Yeah. My sources tell me that Pippa's legit and that her father was legit. And from what I saw before he passed away, felt like he was trying to reveal some of this UFO stuff as well. I think that we're going to find out that more people knew about this than what the world is really ready to expect or accept. I think a lot of people were going to think that if that many people knew about it, people would have been leaking it. And then people are going to go, yeah, they were leaking it. They were, and you were ignoring them. M Spiral, thank you for the donation. CNN wouldn't have aired the story. That's exactly it, right? CNN would not have aired it. It's by far the most convincing UFO footage ever. That's not even close. I mean, there's nothing else you can put up there that's even remotely close. The only thing that's even probably in second place is like the Turkey UFO, the one that like the guy zooms in on, which is really cool. But you still can't tell what's going on, and if it's some kind of trick in the dark or something like that in that video. The MH370 videos, there's no like, is it a shadow or any shit like that? There's no question about that. It's crystal clear what we're looking at. And that's another reason why we know it's military footage. The footage is crystal clear. Military footage is crystal clear. Why? Because you need crystal clear information to make the best possible, most informed decisions. And then Fly Ether, my homie. Edward C. Lynn is a Patriot t-shirts, maybe. Yeah, we might do something like that. I just want it to be in good taste. Keep in mind, we want to respect his wishes as much as we can. Okay, sorry, I'm taking some notes here. Let's see. Robert, why no heat signature of the fire? There is a heat signature of the fire, actually. The cargo bays are fire resistant, but the problem is apparently they can be burned through. So you're not necessarily going to see a fire like you see in the cartoons and in the movies. It's not really how fire on an airplane actually works. And the bigger problem with fire on the airplane is actual structural integrity of the plane. The plane falling apart or the fire damaging crucial components on the plane like the electrical wires. That's what you're primarily concerned with. And then, of course, the smoke. So actually, there's a lot of reasons why you don't want fire on an airplane. But that's the answer to that. And if you want more, check out the all evidence review. I think I go over it. Yeah, shout out to We Are the Change, the GOAT. He's been cooking. So thank you very much. And thank you, Toucan, for that donation. And Edward Lynn, thank you, Truth Teller at 86. Edward Lynn is a hero. I believe he is a hero as well. Okay, so let's talk through some of the other big points, right? Some people say leave him alone and just prove and focus on the science. First of all, I know you don't mean that in a bad way for the people that are saying that, but I've spent more time on the science already just in the last year than most people ever will in their whole lives. Just as a normal guy. So let's just get that out of the way. So I've done more than enough for the science. The other part of it too, and I know you don't mean it that way, but I just want to point that out there to say, like, look, I've put the work in. No question. The other side of it is that proving the science is not enough. Proving the science is not enough. And the reason is we can't just prove it in our backyards or in our garages. What we need to prove, the MH370 videos, to prove that, this is much bigger than, hey, if flight is real, go be the Wright brothers and make one in your backyard. We're talking about interdimensional portals or teleporting through space-time or literal matter annihilation. If you believe that the plane's being annihilated here, then antimatter apparently exists because they just produced it. From a physics perspective, it must be one of these things. So this is like pretty huge. We're not just going to make something like this in our backyard. This is the kind of technology and experiments that take billions of dollars and decades of research. So this is the part where, like, people need to understand the context here. Like, we are quite literally beating down the door of the government and the defense contractors to tell us the truth about the fucking magical technology they've been hiding from us. There is no way where we can just say, hey, we can just go figure it out ourselves. Here's the reality. Sit down and get ready for a harsh dose of reality for all my followers. Chat, wait for it. You know what's coming, chat. You made me do it, chat. Remember this. You made me do this. Chat, I do it because I love you. I want you to know that. You think we're going to just get UFO disclosure because some guy builds a flying saucer in his backyard or in his garage? No, hell no. People have been doing that shit for 30 years. Those people, they either end up dead, they end up broke, or they end up insane. In some kind of insane asylum, sucking on their own thumb in the corner. Okay? The reality is, you know how far away we are from public disclosure of magical orbs that can float around freely, that can give us free energy and transmutation, that can teleport civilian airliners unconnected to the orbs in free space. They can zap them out of the sky. You know how far we are publicly from the dissemination of that level of technology? At a bare minimum, 100 years. 100 years is what I'm going to estimate. That's how far away we are from that. Like 4 generations of people in your family, then the government might begin to start telling people about that technology. Have I given you the proper context to understand how fucking screwed we are at the moment? We're talking about they have technology that is so far beyond where we're at right now that they have to have a schedule for how to disseminate it to us so that people's brains don't pop. So that the normies don't have a psychological breakdown and just go and all kill themselves. Somewhere on some government plan for disclosure, it says, we got to chill on this because a bunch of people are going to commit suicide, and I really don't want that on my conscience. And I'm not joking. It literally says that somewhere. And I kind of wonder what the percentage is. I think I'm probably on the low side when I say like 5 to 10% of all humans will just kill themselves. Can you imagine? 500 million people just decide they're out. I bring this up because people need to understand how stupid we are. When I say we're stupid, don't take it personally. We're all stupid as shit. We're humans. We're primitives. We are cavemen, and some magic orb technology has been bestowed upon us from the gods, from the aliens, from the ancients, from the future, wherever the hell it came from. Who cares? We're cave people. Magical technology has been bestowed upon us. And are we ready? Hell no, we ain't ready. Hell no, we ain't ready. We're not ready, and they know we're not ready. That's why we're going through all this slow drip disclosure bullshit. We're going through it, and they're going, yeah, we're not ready. We're definitely going to destroy ourselves. We definitely have to hide this. And I feel like every single person they have the sit-down talk with that I'm having with you guys right now, imagine you're President Barack Obama. Dark Ashton rolls up. You just got into office. It's 2008. You're President Obama. You just got into office 2008. You just were on TV saying that you're going to reveal that the aliens are real for people. You sit down. You just hear everything that I just said. And then you hear, and so, look, we cracked cold fusion, but it turns out it's infinite energy, and we can't let people have it. It will literally collapse all of civilization. It will collapse the economy. People are going to kill themselves. And then also, of course, you know, some terrorist organization is going to blow up the whole planet. It's inevitable. You tell that to President Obama, and you say, this is the reason why we don't really talk about UFO stuff, because the secret's the energy source. So you can't talk about it, and nobody can ever talk about it. And by the way, Mr. Obama, sir, if you ever bring up this free energy technology in any context ever, you will be JFK number 2. Just so that we're all on the same page. That's probably how the talk went. And every single president that is not in the know gets that talk when they become president. You may say, Ashton, how do you know that? You don't know that. You're just making that up. You're right, but I'm correct. Go look at every president and the way they talk about the UFO phenomenon. Before they get into office, look at what Bill Clinton was saying. Look at what Obama was saying. Even look at what Trump was saying. And then look at what they say afterwards. Every single one of them got the talk. Every single one. This is also why Tucker Carlson does not get told the truth by his president buddies. Because they're not going to tell Tucker Carlson. Hell no. This is some shit where you don't tell anybody. Certainly not Tucker Carlson. The last person you tell some of this shit to. Okay. So, last Dark Ashton point. We're 100 years away from them telling us about this technology. Why is this so important? Well, I would estimate that the MH370X movement already shifted that timeline up 25 years. 25 years. I'm giving us 25% credit already, which is very impressive. More than anybody has ever shifted up the timeline ever by far. At the same time, we're still 75 years away. None of us are going to be alive. None of us are going to be alive by the time they admit that we have teleportation technology. That's the scenario that we're in right now. That's the scenario we're in right now. So do we have time to let Edward Lynn live his life like a normal guy while we go trying to prove the science to the world? No, hell no. No. And also this. I am not going to play this game by their rules. I don't even care what the game is. Any game there is that they're going to play, whatever their rules are, I'm going to flip the table over. I just don't give a shit. When it comes to the CIA and government, I have a natural aversion to their bullshit. Whatever other bullshit rules they've set up have been set up only to enrich and empower them and in no way to help little normal people. So whatever controlled disclosure bullshit they're trying to do, I want no part of it. I want no part of that bullshit. Nope. I'm going to do it the authentic way where we just tell people and then their brains melt and then the people that live, will make a better society. Okay, let me see what else we got to spice on here. Okay, so we pushed the disclosure forward, but we cannot afford to wait for Edward Sealand. That's just the reality. We can't let him have... He wanted to go and, live a normal life, but that's great. He also leaked those videos. So the fact that he's the guy that leaked those videos, that puts him in a position where I'd love to let him live his normal life, guys. I really would. But that's not the life that he chose for himself through his actions. It is what it is. But I also want to say this. This is very important. So much so that I need to clip this. One sec. I think there's an angle that Edward C. Lynn has missed here, or might be discounting. And the angle is this. I have set Edward C. Lynn up to come out as the one true whistleblower. With just look at it from this perspective. The way that I have been pushing that Edward C. Lynn leaked these videos, the way that I've described him in the psychological state of the person that leaked the videos, he's not a bad guy. He's a good guy. He's the person we deserve as a UFO whistleblower. He's the person we deserve as the face, like an honest guy that had an honest human reaction that leaked some crazy shit that any one of us would have leaked if we had seen ourselves, because it's fucking insane. He's the guy we deserve. And I set him up like that intentionally so that if this day came today, that he could come out and be the hero he deserves to be. So that if he did come out now and say that he did leak those videos, no one would ever be able to say that he was a traitor. People would laugh at anyone who tries to come out and push disinformation that Edward C. Lynn is some traitor sleeping with prostitutes. People just laugh at them because of my work and because of all of you guys. Because we've destroyed that fake narrative, obliterated it. He's not some traitor who was selling secrets to some prostitute. So stupid. He was a hero that leaked UFO videos, we'll call them, before there were UFO whistleblowers. Keep in mind, guys, there weren't even UFO whistleblowers in 2014. The Navy and DOD only admitted the Tic Tac videos were real in 2017. That was 3 years after MH370. So when Edward Lynn leaked the videos, there wasn't even a platform for him to go somewhere. There was nowhere for him to go to be a whistleblower. But now there is. He can go to AARO, the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. And if it looks like I'm smirking, I am a little bit. They're kind of incompetent. It's true. But we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give the lieutenant colonel and the AARO people the benefit of the doubt. I don't think they're incompetent. I think that they're nice people trying to do a job, and I hope that they do their job. But the thing is, setting Edward Lynn up primes him to come out and become a hero. He could become famous. Edward Lynn could come out and become famous tomorrow. All he would have to come out and say is, I leaked those videos. Ashton Forbes on the internet is correct. I'm a whistleblower. I'm blowing the whistle on United States black operations. Boom. Edward C. Lynn would become one of the most famous people overnight. More famous in the UFO community than every single whistleblower ever. Instantly. And that's only possible because I set him up for that. We set him up for that. That's true. So I hope Edward Lynn is listening, because that's a very... I did that with foresight. I wanted people to know this. Is that I also knew that, I mean, it is just factually true that he's a hero related to this, but I wanted people to know that since he is a hero, we need to push that so that he won't be afraid to come forward. And then people think that he was some kind of evil person because he might be afraid that they're going to try to slander him, which they will. And so we've taken that away. And I left Edward Lynn alone. I want to point this out as well. I left Edward C. Lynn alone for almost a year, over a year, almost a year and a half. I said his name, but I didn't really blast it as much as I needed to. I didn't go running him down, trying to find him. I didn't go harass him anywhere. I didn't repeatedly even call him anywhere or anything like that. I've never done anything like that before. I gave him plenty of time to come out, to reach out, what have you. He never did any of those things. So he's had plenty of time. What I can say with certainty is his name is never going away related to these videos until we have a sit-down conversation that can be publicly available. That is That's just the reality. People shouldn't doubt what I say. When people say, you're just doing this because you want to get famous off of wormholes or whatever. No. I've told people I'm never going to let this go until I get the truth. And that's what's going to happen. And so when I say Edward C. Lynn's going to forever be connected to these videos until we have a sit-down public conversation about how somehow he's not related to that, I'm telling the truth. Okay. There's a few other things as well. And if you have more ideas, by the way, on what we should do, please put them in the chat or put them in the comments later. I want to read your thoughts and see if we can come up with some better ideas. One thing I could do is I could go try to find him. I could go fly out there where he's at, go to his work, go to his house, sit outside his house with a camera. And I could do some kind of cheaters type thing where I, ambush him with a camera and try to get a response. It's a card to play. It's not what I want to do. It seems very dickheadish and unprofessional. And it seems like Edward Lynn deserves a little bit more than that. But it is something that we could do. I mean, I think that he's a guy where he's living a normal job. He can't just go hide and live in a motel forever, So he's going to make himself, he's going to be available. Yeah, I could do some kind of James O'Keefe style thing. We could try to honey trap him, I could take one of my followers, could seduce him. But no, I don't want to do any of that. So, but that is a possibility. The other thing too is the documentation. So some people said push for Trump to declassify the MH370 videos. This is what I've been thinking about today and yesterday and recently. That I think is the best move. In the context of the JFK files being released today, I think a lot of people looked at all of these files, these JFK files, and they said, wow, there's 80,000 files. How are we supposed to get through all of these? And they're right. It's just basically a huge info dump. And it's probably not going to solve the JFK mystery. Probably not. But if they did that with the MH370 files, it would solve MH370 100%. 100%. If the government turned over everything they know about MH370, the mystery would be solved in about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. That's how fast. Because the United States government is directly implicated. They directly did that shit. And there's going to be multiple things that directly incriminate them. And how do I know that? Because I've got like 20 FOIA requests that have all been rejected for national security and foreign policy. And that basically sums up the government's stance on MH370. If the government did, if the United States did not know what happened to MH370, I would not have every single FOIA request getting rejected by the United States government. Into everything around the plane, the fire, random stuff related to the plane, everything just gets rejected. So I bring this up because one piece of evidence, basically the case of Edward Lynn itself, 100% has incriminating evidence that will prove the videos are real. One of the rejections that I got was on the Edward Lynn case overall from the NCIS. The NCIS is the judicial body for the Navy, and they rejected my case in total to be kept secret in the interest of national defense or foreign policy. One of the things that I feel extremely confident would prove the videos are real would be the transcript of the first interrogation of Edward Lynn. The very first interrogation of Edward C. Lynn is going to have in it context that's going to make it 1,000% clear that Edward Lynn leaked the MH370 videos. That's why they're not releasing the transcript of the interrogation. The interrogation explains the type of content that he released. The interrogation will prove that he leaked the MH370 videos. He's going to probably, I imagine the way the interrogation played out was Edward Lynn was confused at first. He knew he had done some sketchy stuff, but he didn't know what they were coming at him for. And then in the interrogation, over the course of probably about an hour into the interrogation, they probably make it clear that he leaked some extremely damaging weapons information online. And then he'll go, oh, shit, that was our weapons? Ooh, my bad, dudes. Like, oops. So after they convinced Edward Lynn or told Edward Lynn that he leaked our weapons and that China knows about them now, then he would have said, yeah, I did that. My bad. But he might have also said that he showed those to somebody else and then they leaked them. So he was probably guilty by proxy, because otherwise, why would he argue that like the information was available on the internet? It's like a weird argument to make. If you're the one that leaked the information, put it on the internet, why would you say it's available on the internet? You're the one put it there, duh. So instead, probably the way it played out was that he leaked it to somebody else. They put it on the internet. He's guilty by association and also because he's the one that made it possible, which of course is true. That's almost certainly how I think it played out. And it's funny that we can even find out, just deduce that much information just based on the context of his case. Yeah, these glasses are quite reflective. Okay, that's enough Dark Ashton. Let's go back. Oh, a couple more super chats. Sween. By your own metric, how much content exists behind air-gapped networks versus public security infrastructure? You guys want me to freak you out right now? Air-gapped networks. Whoops. Air-gapped networks can be jumped. They can jump the gap. So the spooks, the CIA, probably Israel, many other countries as well at this point, they can put a virus on your computer even though it's air-gapped. So they can get it basically close enough, and then they can jump the gap from the air gap and get it to wirelessly transmit onto your device. That's probably the level of their technology right now, if not further than that. With respect to how much publicly exists, all the information we need exists publicly. The stuff that's going to be on these air-gapped, like in these skiffs, the skiff is just a secure building that has these like controls around it where, like, you know, you make sure information can't come in or out, or at least out. The information on those networks is good. The stuff that's going to be protected is mostly going to be like how people figured out how to stabilize the fusion process. That's the stuff that's going to be the DOE, the DOD. That's the stuff they're hiding from the math perspective is, oh, we figured out how to stabilize a ball of plasma. We figured out how magnetohydrodynamic shear and magnetic confinement pressure can be used to stabilize the ball of plasma so that the energy does not dissipate away. That's quite literally one of the things. Those conclusions and the way they achieve those results, that is classified. That is the stuff that you're going to only be able to see on an air-gapped network when you go to a Lockheed Martin facility or what have you, just as an example. And then you can read that paper and you can never talk about it. You can never take a screenshot of it or anything, right? You can read that paper. So I'm just giving you a hypothetical example of that. So that was a great question. Oh, Sween. Human beings are resilient. It is one of our defining traits. The world will fall apart argument doesn't necessarily compute. Well, yes and no. Yes, the world will fall apart. At the same time, will the world fade away? No. It's called evolution. The weak will fade away and die off, and those who can get past and evolve will live. It's called life. We've been doing it for a very long time. And so, yes, you're right. The world will not end, but it also might end. We are literally going to destroy this planet. It's just a matter of time until the planet is destroyed. The question is, how quickly will that happen? And are we accelerating it through technology? And that's the debate that we need to have going forward. Dan. Oh, yeah, we already asked that one. Quinn. Did his lawyer say he would ask Eddie about it? Yes, several times he said stuff about asking Eddie, and we've never heard back. To be honest, guys, there really is, like, you can't really, there's no two ways about it. There's only one reason why he wouldn't be talking publicly. And that reason is because I'm right. He leaked the videos. Any other case, he should just be coming out. He should have made a statement saying that this guy's making up fake shit about me on the internet or just contacted me. I mean, there's just not a lot of ways to rationalize it. The most hardcore debunkers, how do they rationalize it? From what I've heard through the grapevine is they just say, like, Edward Lynn knows Ashton's a crazy person. That's why he just ignores him. What? But I'm not a crazy person. I'm just a normal guy trying to get answers for these videos. And it seems like it should just be like a 5-minute phone call if he wasn't the guy that leaked the videos. So a story just doesn't really make any sense. But this is true of a lot of debunker stories. And I haven't talked and harped on the debunkers a lot, but I want to point out a very important logical trap is that the difference between somebody who is a critical-minded skeptic versus the debunker is the critical-minded skeptic looks for a story. They say, what's the story that fits all the facts? And when you're a skeptic, you're always taking all the evidence. You're not just throwing pieces of evidence away. You're weighing evidence's credibility in your mind. You're saying this evidence has a credibility score of 50 or 100 or 0 or whatever. But you're doing these calculations subconsciously in your mind. And you're taking all that evidence and you're saying, okay, what's the overall thread, overall story that makes sense? And then when somebody presents a piece of evidence that either has low credibility or is far outside of the story that the overall evidence is showing, then you say, that doesn't really make sense. How does that fit with the overall story? How does that fit with the overall evidence? That's what a critical-minded skeptic should do. That's what I do all the time. And then reevaluate your story and your evidence all the time with new information coming to light. What do debunkers do? Debunkers, what they do is they say, they start from their conclusion and they work backward. And it often comes from a position of moral and intellectual superiority. They feel morally superior, intellectually superior to you. Therefore, they feel like whatever they know must be correct. And therefore, their answer must be correct. And then whatever it takes for that answer to be true, they basically reverse engineer what they need and say, nope, this must be this. The number one go-to for them is to find two things that look similar and claim that they're the same. Prosaic explanation is what we call it. Well, that looks like this. Therefore, this must be that. If you're one of those people, that is not being critically minded. So hopefully from that, you help to understand the difference between when we're using our own biases to reach a conclusion that we've already predetermined without evaluating the evidence, or looking at all of the evidence and coming to your conclusion. Because I would say to a debunker, what is the psychological profile for the person that leaked the videos? And they're never going to answer that question. Never in a million years will they answer that question. Because if they have to do that, then they have to look at the videos and realize that nobody would ever fake a video that has that you can figure out the psychological profile of the person that leaked it in a fake video. It's not a thing that you do. That's the main reason why. And then if you were to ask them, what's the psychological profile of the person that faked the video? If you think the videos are fake, it's fine to have that opinion. Nobody should, people might make fun of you the same way that they make fun of people that think the earth is flat, but, they shouldn't attack you or anything over that. But if you think these videos are fake, well, okay, what's the psychological profile of the person that faked this? Who faked this? Were they in their basement making this? How long? What possessed them to come up with this? When did they first decide that they were going to make fake military videos in the Nicobar Islands of Malaysian Airlines Flight 370? That's pretty damn specific. What made them think that there should be 3 orbs spinning around the plane and then converging and then the plane zapping away in an endothermic event? You should ask yourself, why have none of the people who think these videos are fake ever once asked themselves that question? Why can't they answer any of those questions? Those are just simple, straightforward questions. The whole stream today was about me going over the psychological profile of the person that leaked these videos. And I did it in pretty in depth. I think it was pretty convincing. And yet, the people who think the videos are fake, they can't give you any psychological profile of the person that faked the videos, because it makes the psychological profile of a person that would fake those videos doesn't make any sense, because nobody would ever do that. And nobody ever has done that in the human history. Nobody has ever faked military videos like that before. It's never happened. Nobody's ever faked a thermal video before. Also never happened. Nobody's ever faked videos of some tragic event, like a missing plane like that either. So there's already 3 different things that have never happened that are all represented in those videos. And yet people want you to believe that what? Some bored kid made those videos? Marvel Studios made those videos and they just didn't want to admit it? Who made the videos? Whoever made them didn't want $150,000. So keep in mind, whatever your answer is for who made the videos, whoever that answer is, they also must not want $150,000. So that rules out a lot of the options, doesn't it? We had a $150,000 bounty for months for the person who faked the videos to come forward and give us proof. And they never did. So if it was a bored kid, why'd the bored kid not want $150,000? If it was some VFX genius Banksy person, they didn't want $150,000. They didn't want world fame and any job in any VFX studio on the planet. The answer is there is no psychological profile for the person that faked the videos that makes any sense. And that's the reason why people that think the videos are fake never address that. And that's the reason why they're not really critically minded skeptics. They're just debunkers. Got it good. What if you petition the Chinese government to publicly release the information? No, I think China, I would like China. Okay, sure. Let's, write it down. China, help us out. China or Russia, it'd be great. Thank you for that donation. I'm not going to petition them because I like being alive and I don't want to be treated like a traitor. But if you guys want to petition them, go for it. People are quite upset that I am not I'm not a fan of delivery services. Let's say that. I understand necessity, but we have reached a point in our society where people are ordering every single thing online and never getting up out of their couch. And I think it started getting really bad during COVID, and we've just become a shitty ass, lazy ass society. And that triggers a lot of people. And you know what? Too bad. Thanks for that donation, though. Nobu. Shout out to Ashton. He must corroborate the videos. Thank you, Nobu. I appreciate it. Okay, so one last question that I want to discuss is What would happen if we actually got disclosure? Like if Edward Lynn actually did what we're asking, what would happen? What would happen? I think that's a really good question to ask. Like, what are we asking Edward Sealand to do? Well, right off the bat, I don't think we're just going to immediately get everybody to accept that there's orbs and teleportation, right? That's not going to happen. Even if Edward Sealand comes out. Edward Sealand will get attacked if he were to come out. People will start to make up stories like we were working together. He's making it up to grift on the orb story or whatever other bullshit. They'll make that up. It won't work, but they'll make it up. Also, Edward C. Lynn would become a household name. Media might have to start reporting on it. I think podcasters like Joe Rogan and Sean Ryan would almost certainly invite Edward Lynn onto their shows because of the fact that they know I've been saying his name. And then I think from there, what would happen is that we would try to get to a point where Edward C. Lynn is helping to push the information of the science in those videos to the public in a somewhat controlled manner. I use the term loosely because when I say controlled, I mean, I don't want to teach people how to make a black hole super weapon to like Iran, right? But at the same time, I want people to understand the implications that this level of technology is unlimited destructive capability. Unlimited. Yeah, and I just like this comment a lot. I'm just a chill dude. I don't like the devil shit or anything. I'm not worshiping the devil. I'm not trying to destroy the planet. I just want us to tell the truth about what we did to 239 people because it got on the internet and I kind of feel like gig is up. Like the jig is up here. We should just be telling the truth now. This genie's not going back in the bottle. Right? Okay. I also, because I didn't give this context earlier, Jenny Lynn married Sean Naylor, who is apparently some spook as well. They met like during the time where Edward Lynn was incarcerated. And now Jenny Lynn is like moving her way up in Homeland Security. So the only reason why Edward Lynn is alive is A, because he took the plea deal, and B, because his family is connected. And they were civil servants their whole lives, and the people prosecuting them know that Edward Lynn made a mistake. Otherwise, he probably would be dead. He probably would be. So for the people that say you're putting Edward Lynn in danger or whatever, no, I'm not putting him in danger. He's already safe. They've already made a deal. That's the whole point. They made a deal, right? What Edward Lynn should do, if he's smart, if Larry Youngner is listening, listen closely, free advice. Make a dead man switch, make a video with a newspaper in it or some shit, the day, and just have it say, my name is Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn. Ashton Forbes is correct. The MH370 videos are real. I leaked them. Take that video, put it on a dead man switch for Edward Lynn. Boom, he has life insurance policy. Now, nobody else has to cry about Ashton Forbes putting them in danger. I literally just gave you a life insurance policy. Go put that on a dead man switch. No one's going to touch Edward C. Lynn. There you go. Because then what would happen? They hurt Edward C. Lynn. Dead man switch goes off. Video comes out to the public that said Ashton Forbes was right. This is the dead man switch. That's pretty damn good. Pretty good insurance policy, chat. Okay. What else would happen? The truth is, I think that Stephen Greer is going to be proven correct. In most cases, not everything. No one's right about everything, but Stephen Greer is right about two things. One is that there is a deep state that is in control of magical technology that is beyond our understanding. And then the other thing is that this technology would become ubiquitous. When I say the word ubiquitous, I mean everywhere, within about 10 to 20 years. Within 10 to 20 years, our society will go from this shithole, piece of shit, fossil fuel burning, coal burning, garbage, trash dump shithole that we live in to like Star Trek Fallout Utopia. When I say Fallout Utopia, you may say, Ashton, what do you mean? Isn't it like an apocalyptic wasteland in the show Fallout in the video game? I mean that dope ass 50s deco retro style. We're going to bring that back. We're going to bring that shit back, chat, because it looks dope as hell. And what's old is cool again. So that's what I mean. We're going to bring back the dope 50s deco style. We're just going to pretend like we had a time shift. And then we're going to make everything all based on Tesla and electricity. And nothing's going to be based on burning stuff and burning and blowing stuff up. That's stupid. Except for when we want to destroy things, which of course we will still use guns and explosions for because they're fun. Because explosions are fun. But for everything practical, we will use electricity and zappy stuff. Like Gauss weapons and plasma weapons and shit like that. It's going to be awesome. So 10 to 20 years, we would go from this technology being publicly known to basically many industries changing to be entirely focused entirely around zero-point energy technology. That's my prediction. Woo! What a live stream, chat. Yes, a few days ago, Tucker Carlson and Clayton did mention free energy technology. They were pretty much referencing me. Clayton Morris, and I don't mean that to be cocky, but Clayton Morris, like I'm one of Clayton Morris's like go-to people when it comes to the science around the free energy technology and the plasma stuff. And I can tell that he trusts me, and I want him to know that I'm not going to mislead him, and then have not misled him. And I appreciate his friendship and the fact that he has platformed me several times to talk about it, because many other platforms are afraid to do so because they think that it's some big scam or some big gimmick when it's not. And but I think the conversation between Tucker and Clayton Morris is important because it gives us a litmus test for what the normies are willing to accept at this point. We're pretty damn far away from them being able to accept teleportation. But we can start getting people comfortable with the idea that Tesla was right. And what did everybody that knows about Tesla, they all know about one thing about Tesla: free energy. Even though free energy is a misnomer, even though free energy is not really correct, we are going to use the term free energy because it's cool. Because it's a cool term. And it's accurate to what's actually happening, which is that we are getting over unity performance from the zero-point energy field all around us. We're using the zero-point energy all around us like a little oil well. And any civilization that reaches that level of technology, they move so far up the Kardashev scale that we need a better scale. We need a new scale. You go from primitive cavemen to Tesla level super technology, and the jump is there's nothing to even compare it to. It will be equivalent from us going from cavemen that did not understand fire to where we are at right now with rockets. We are going to go through that level of ontological and societal shock. So when people say, oh, yes, it's not going to collapse society, it kind of is. It kind of is. Okay. Whew. Where were the machines that made the orbs? So I asked a lot of people about this behind the scenes. The way it probably plays out is that different people produce different components, and then it gets put together somewhere in a secure facility. So that's how the compartmentalization makes it so that even the people building it don't know what they're building. So someone might be able to make a plasma weapon, and they don't even know that they're building it. They might have some idea, but they don't even know what the end product's going to be. And so that's another part of the reason why this stuff is so easy to hide. The compartmentalization and the way they've set up the compartmentalization makes it so difficult for anyone to know what the hell is going on. Great question, by the way. You guys are on point tonight with the questions. Okay, one more question tonight, guys. If you have a question in the chat, put it in the chat. I'm going to do one more question. And thank you once again for everybody who's an open-minded, critically minded skeptic, because that's what I really am, end of the day. As a skeptically minded person that has simply been swayed by the overwhelming evidence that the videos are real and that Edward Lynn leaked them. Thank you very much, I Love Purple Things, for that donation, just to piss off the chat troll. I appreciate that. Okay, let's see. One last question. Let's see what we can find here, guys. We don't have a group for making deals. There's going to be an announcement for a producer. We're looking for someone to help with editing. You know, at the beginning, it'll be probably an unpaid role, but who knows? Can morph into something. We'll see. Would there be a possibility that some of the HARP type devices have had a hand in it? Yes, I think there is. So this is an important point. I think this is probably a good one that we could go with is for the end is that what people need to learn, and this has been said by many people before me, is that radar is not just a detection mechanism. It's not a receiver. It's also a transmitter. So when you realize that everything is about electromagnetic waves, and then you look at radar, you go, wait, but radar is just electromagnetic waves. So if there's some secret in electromagnetic waves, then radar should have figured it out. And the people that have studied radar should have figured it out. They figured out that if you create phase conjugate waves that are 180 degrees out of phase, that they create these scalar effects, longitudinal waves in the ether. So scalar waves potentially might be a thing that are out there. And if that's the case, that means anything that's transmitting electromagnetic waves might be a directed energy weapon. Not just a system to bounce a wave off of something, but to transmit energy at a distance. And Tom Bearden was the first person that really popularized it, which is that you can take those scalar beams and interfere them at a distance, and you can reproduce energy at a distance or absorb energy at a distance. An endothermic event, a cold explosion. So yes, the HARP stuff could be directed energy weapons, but the reason why I bring this up, why was it that Edward C. Lynn, why did they come down on him so hard? Why did he trigger a national security alert at the highest levels? Because they figured out how to take these radar arrays and put them inside of an orb. And once you have 3 of those orbs, now you have 3 mobile radar arrays that can get right next to an object. And they can create electromagnetic intensities far higher than just a radar array on the ground or a radar array on a satellite beaming down can. They took it to the next level. And to me, that adds a lot of weight to the overall story, because we can kind of figure out how they evolved from these directed energy radar arrays to a mobile platform that can float freely throughout the sky, just using plasma. Just using plasma. And I know about the Patrick Jackson defense system array. It's funny because I actually said I think that these things could be a defense system array. I mean, to me, the obvious use would be to intercept intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, IBCMs, whatever. That, to me, makes the most sense for these orbs. But do we know that? No. They could have multiple purposes, and I would argue they might have unlimited purposes. They could be free energy devices, transmutation devices, etc. Thank you, Nobu, for that follow-up donation. I appreciate you. Okay, I think that's it for tonight, guys. I'm just looking to see if there's any other last questions I need to get at. Thank you, Professor J, for being here. I appreciate you guys. Oh, yeah, and this was another thing. This is a good thing. We'll end it on this one, which is that this is public knowledge that I think it was around 2017, Ryan Graves said that we updated our radars. And after we updated our radars, we started seeing UFOs everywhere. Why? What did I just say? Turns out radar can produce scalar effects, electrogravitic effects, and we can potentially produce energy at a distance with these scalar effects. So if there are UFOs using those effects and we upgraded our radar, it would make sense that all of a sudden now we're able to see those where we previously weren't seeing them on our radar. They were jamming our radar before. We found some new way where we can adapt to the physics that they're using. Makes a lot of sense. And it would make a lot of sense if the way that we knew how to adapt is because we built them ourselves. We figured it out. So, of course, we can adapt to it because we figured out how they work. This is the thing I'm going to leave you with. We have figured out how the UFOs work. Maybe we have known the whole time, but we have figured it out and we have been weaponizing it and we have been keeping the public in the dark about this for our own good. Tonight, guys, our moment is Zen. Producing plasma balls with a microwave. I thought I had it recorded, but I just realized that I only shared it on my Twitter. So here we go. Here it is. Okay. Oops. Okay. So the reason why I'm showing this as the moment is Zen is that I want you guys to see how easy these are. People, it was John Brandenburg and the Hard Truths with John Brandenburg, where he was saying they were making ball lightning with microwaves. Well, here you go. Here's one right here.
Start. Get a big ball lightning. Oh, yeah, it does make a difference. It sure does. There we go. There's your ball lightning up on the roof.
Wow. Look at that. What a time to be alive indeed, Matt. Thanks very much for that donation. 420. YOLO swag. Damn, that is so cool.
The carbon or something. It's I don't know what it is.
I mean, you can see the little balls they're stable for a very brief moment.
I think all that dirt is kind of concentrating.
The best spot's like right here. Look at those things swirl around. Look at that. That's just so awesome. I'm gonna mute this. So one thing I'm gonna play this again while this is going on in the background. Look at how similar the movement of that plasma is to what we see from UFOs. When we see UFOs, they almost look like they're just moving freely with no inertia. Just like that plasma. That plasma just, it's almost like it's somehow surfing around through the atmosphere is what it looks like.
It sure does.
That should be a big clue that there's a connection between plasma and whatever effect UFOs are using for defying gravity, defying inertia, defying mass, etc. Quite interesting. And then you realize, too, that this is also the basis for fusion. That what we're trying to do in fusion is we're trying to take plasma and we're trying to just control the plasma. We're trying to control it into a region. That's it. That's all we're trying to do in fusion. So looking at this and watching how the plasma moves around is a natural way to figure that out. In fact, that's what's been done. And I would argue already been figured out a long time ago. Thank you guys for the live stream. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you all of my dedicated followers for supporting and engaging in the content. Hope you guys have a great one. Friday, we're going to talk about free energy, and we're going to talk about Tesla, and we're going to learn some more science. Have a good one, MH370X. Talk to you guys later. Peace out.
eyes, scanning the black, tracking the heat, never turning back. Control 22, a covert gaze. Control 33, in the cosmic maze. Controls in the mix, secrets untold. Silent watchers, brave and bold. In the shadows, they silently glide, protecting our interest, far and wide. As Spears, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. In the silence of space, they keep their post, shields unseen yet feared the most. With precision and speed, they warn of danger, keeping us safe from the missile's anger. As Beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. Controls in the mix, secrets untold, silent watchers, brave and bold. In the shadows, they silently glide, protecting our interest, far and wide. As Beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. As Beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to